Hey, this is Dena. Welcome to the Den. Well, as you may remember, 2 years ago, I did a 4-part film den on the It miniseries from 1990, and boy was that an endeavor. In theory, I'd like to cover more miniseries, but damn, I really underestimated what an undertaking that was gonna be. Anyways, a quick recap. I loved that movie, those movies. Still do, actually. I mean, yeah, you do have to kind of keep in mind when it came out and the limitations of primetime network television. It was obviously way less gory than the book, for example, but other than that, it was a pretty faithful adaptation. The child actors were great, in particular Jonathan Brandis and Seth Green, Bill and Richie respectively, went on to be pretty established actors. The adult actors were good too, even if most of them were plucked from sitcoms. John Ritter in particular was great as Ben, and of course I'm sure that I don't have to tell most of you that Tim Curry was amazing as the Pennywise form of It. Now we come to the remake. Before I go on, apparently I need to explain to some people what a remake is. Because when I covered the miniseries and mentioned that there was a remake coming out, I got a lot of comments that were just people bitching me out for calling the remake a remake. So here's a quick vocabulary lesson. If a movie was made, then that movie is being made again, the movie is being remade. It doesn't matter if the second movie is based on the book rather than directly based on the first movie. In other words, the terms adaptation and remake are not mutually exclusive. A movie can be both. If you don't want to call it a remake for whatever reason, fine, don't call it that. Just don't try to police my language in the comments section like a pedantic douche nozzle. Anyway, if you watch my videos, you probably already know that I'm not too happy with most remakes that are coming out these days. Someday I'll make a video about that, but that's the short version. That said, I was actually okay with it being remade, at least in theory. Like I said before, as much as I liked the miniseries, it did have some limitations, and I was interested in seeing how a big-budget R-rated theatrical release would handle it. Unlike most people, though, the trailer really didn't do anything for me. I saw what looked to me like a bunch of cheap modern horror tropes, and it just didn't look like it was gonna be good. Imagine my surprise when it initially got like 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that was what convinced me to go and see this movie in the theater, and I did not regret it. So with all that said, let's dive right into the It remake. Yep, still calling it a remake. Die mad about it. We open on Bill making that paper boat for Georgie. Yep, they're opening with that iconic Georgie sequence. One big difference between this movie and the first part of the miniseries is that the miniseries followed the same format as the book, where even though the first half mostly showed the group as kids, it was still shown through flashbacks they're having as adults. You got to see them as kids and adults from the beginning, and it helped to tie everything together. For this movie and its sequel, they separated the kid sequences and the adult sequences entirely to the point where the first movie only shows them as kids. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I guess we'll find out when the sequel comes out how well that worked overall, though going by the trailer it's going to have some flashbacks. But it's definitely a different take.
Okay, go get the wax.
In the cellar?
You want it to float, don't you?
He actually writes SS Georgie on it. That's cute. Oh god, the smiley face disappearing. There's some nice visual symbolism in this movie. Another big difference between this movie and the miniseries is that they updated the time period. Which makes sense. The miniseries came out in 1990, so with the 30-year time skip, the flashbacks took place in 1960. Again, that's close to how it was in the book. More on that later. Once again, Georgie is afraid to go into the cellar. But this movie spends more time on it than the miniseries did, getting a little closer to how the book handled it. Basically, Georgie is afraid of monsters. He even imagines a pair of eyes in the dark in this version. I love how all three versions, to varying degrees, really help to humanize Georgie a little more and give a little foreshadowing that something bad is going to happen to him. Oh.
She's all ready, Captain.
She?
It was called both she.
Georgie doesn't kiss Bill in this version, but he gives him all of the hugs. This movie also does a good job of showing how much these two brothers love each other and how Bill is a little worried about Georgie.
Be careful.
And Georgie is adorable in this one too. Oof, I felt that. By the way, Georgie falling down was handled a lot better here than the trailer made it look. In context, he doesn't look like a clumsy idiot, he just messed up for a second. But yeah, that fall cost him his boat.
No! Bill's gonna kill me!
Obviously he means his brother, but it's funny when you remember that Pennywise in this movie is played by Bill Skarsgård, so he's not wrong. Remember how Georgie thought he saw a pair of eyes in the dark earlier and it scared him? No hyperbole, this is his worst nightmare.
Hiya, Georgie. What a nice boat. Do you want it back?
Yes, please.
I'll reiterate what I said in an earlier video. One issue I've had with this scene is that Pennywise is so much more creepy here that it's a little hard to believe that Georgie would stick around. Where in the miniseries he'd be more like, what's up with this goofy clown in the drain? What I guess helps is that Pennywise immediately shows him the boat, where in the miniseries it didn't make an appearance until the end of the conversation, like it was a last resort. Georgie really does want that boat back. Bill made it for him, so it's important to him.
Well, I'm Pennywise the dancing clown.
And after a bit, I guess Pennywise is just goofy enough to put Georgie at ease. I like this lady who sees this kid doing something dangerous and she just shrugs it off. That's typical of adult behavior in Derry. Her cat's wondering what's going on, though. Anyway, Pennywise tells Georgie that the entire circus is down there due to the storm.
Can you smell the circus, Georgie? There's peanuts, cotton candy.
One detail I remember from the book is that Georgie really could smell the peanuts and cotton candy and popcorn due to its influence.
Popcorn! Is that your favorite?
Uh-huh.
I do, because they pop.
That was almost cute for a second. But now not so much.
I should get going now.
Without your boat?
I wish there was a version where Georgie just left the damn boat. It's not worth it, Georgie. Bill can make another one.
Bill's gonna kill you.
Bill is indeed gonna kill you.
Here. Take it.
We know where this is going, but I want to show my reaction to when this happened in the miniseries.
When you're down here with me, you float down!
Jesus Christ! That scene really does give me chills. Sometimes it's what you don't see that can really have an effect on you. And child death is particularly hard to watch. So, let's see how this R-rated theatrical release handles it.
Take it, Georgie.
It sure draws it out longer and really lets you think about what's gonna happen. This movie isn't gonna fuck around, is it? That cat's like, Mom, there's clowns in the drain again. I love how this opening literally shows a light at the end of the tunnel and it's still terrifying. So a year has passed and now we're being introduced to Mike Hanlon. Yikes, that's quite a bit different than Kid Mike's introduction in the miniseries. Anyway, yeah, he can't bring himself to kill the lamb, so he gets a talking to from his grandfather, who is looking after him.
Look at me! There are two places you can be in this world. You can be out here like us, or you can be in there, like them.
Wow, so if you can't be the butcher, you'll end up being the lamb. Pretty tough lesson for a kid. Grandfather doesn't fuck around either.
Look at me. You waste time hemming and hawing, and someone else is gonna make that choice for you. Except you won't know it until you feel that boat between your eyes.
That's some nice foreshadowing, though. He is gonna have to make a choice. Technically a couple. Meanwhile, at school, Bill returns, where we also meet Eddie and Richie. They're gonna go to Stan's bar mitzvah, which they're confusing with a bris.
It says they sliced the tip of your dick off.
God damn it, can't I make a video where nobody brings up circumcision? Oh look, it's the Bowers gang.
Think they'll sign my yearbook?
Speaking of bullies. Meanwhile, Beverly is hiding in a stall. Remember how it was hinted at that the other girls at school didn't like her in the miniseries?
Honestly, Ronnie, some people have no class. Some people have janitors for parents.
Welp.
You're trash.
Wow, they really are the worst.
At least now you'll smell better.
Great, a curfew, that's gonna help. So this was the last day of school, so the guys are literally throwing their books away. I had to return all my books back when I was in school.
Best feeling ever.
Yeah? Try tickling your pickle for the first time.
Beep beep, Richie.
Street Fighter. Means that how you want to spend your summer? Inside of an arcade? Beat spending it inside of your mother.
Stan's like, no. So a lot of kids have turned up missing recently, including this lady's daughter, Betty Ripson.
You think they'll actually find her?
Sure. In a ditch, all decomposed, covered in worms and maggots, smelling like Eddie's mom's underwear. Shut up.
Richie literally takes every opportunity to dig at Eddie's mom.
She's not dead, she's missing.
Sorry, Bill. She's missing.
One thing that's different about this version is that, as horrible as what happened to Georgie was, technically he's presumed missing and not dead, since he was pulled into the sewer and hasn't been seen since. In the book and miniseries, Georgie was found dead with his arm ripped off.
Some guy killed George. Pulled one of his arms right off, just like a wing off a fly.
So in this version, Bill is actually holding out hope that Georgie is alive, where in the book and miniseries, Georgie was just dead and Bill had to learn to live with that somehow. So here come the bullies.
Nice frisbee, Flamer.
Yikes, they're definitely worse in this version. Well, now we know which one is Belch. Notice Eddie gagging, that's a nice detail with him being a germaphobe. The third one is Patrick Hockstetter. The actor playing him kind of looks like John Travolta. I don't know if that's intentional, but if it is, that's a great reference since one of John Travolta's first roles was in Carrie.
Suck, Bowers!
Henry Bowers has a mullet. Suits him.
You got a free ride this year because you're your little brother.
Well, that's uncharacteristically nice of him.
This summer's gonna be a hurt train for you and your faggot friends.
Rashid go missing.
He's probably the one doing it.
And finally we meet number 7. Obviously Ben.
You can let me go by, or is there a secret password or something? Oh, sorry, Sinatra.
And who boy is he ever awkward.
Henry and his goons are over by the west entrance, so you should be fine.
Because of course he has it out for the fat kid.
What you listening to?
Also, Ben's dirty little secret gets exposed.
New kids on the block.
I don't even like them. I was just...
Wait, you're the new kid, right?
Once again, Ben is the new kid and is obviously crushing on Beverly.
I'm Beverly Marsh.
Yeah, I know that because we're in the same class. I'm Ben, but pretty much everybody just calls me
the new kid.
Oh god, Ben is the new kid and he listens to New Kids on the Block. That's really cute. Oh, she signs his empty yearbook. Have a great summer, Bev.
Hang tough, new kid on the block.
Please don't go, girl. That's the name of another...
Quit while you're ahead, kiddo. Interesting that Bill's bike is named Silver in this one. Since it doesn't take place in the 50s or 60s, I'm guessing he's not a Lone Ranger fan.
Shit. Need some help?
I thought we agreed.
Anyway, here's where we find out just how badly Bill is in denial about Georgie. He's built a model of the sewers and figures out that Georgie could have ended up in the Barrens. And that's why he always wants to go there.
Storm swept Georgie in. We should have gone.
He's gone! He's dead!
Ouch, Dad.
Now take this down before your mother sees it.
I guess you get your tunnels back.
That hamster was climbing the walls without its tunnels. Back to Mike, he's about to make a delivery. And yeah, of course the bullies go after him too. I'm sure that the customers would be thrilled to know that their meat was next to a dumpster before they got it. That's gotta be some kind of health code violation. Also, this happens. Yeah, that was a nice little mindfuck. Obviously, we're gonna find out later what that was all about. Meanwhile, he nearly gets mowed down by the bullies.
Get the fuck out of it now!
Later, Stan is rehearsing for his bar mitzvah.
How's it gonna look? The rabbi's son can't finish his own Torah reading. Take the book to my office.
Obviously, you're not using it.
Geez, all these kids' parents suck. Anyway, when he goes to put the book away in his dad's office, he's confronted with this painting that freaks him out. Off topic, but I love the look of that stained glass window with the light shining through. That's gorgeous. And then Stan steps in front of it and it looks like a halo around his head. Oh my god! So this painting and Stan's fear of it was not in the book. In fact, the director directly based it on his own childhood fear of a painting by, pardon my pronunciation, Amedeo Modigliani that hung in his parents' house. He tended to paint women with elongated necks, crooked faces, and empty eyes, and I think it's kind of an interesting style as an adult, but I could see a kid being freaked out by that. As for the painting in this movie, I knew where they were gonna go with that, and I was like, oh shit. So he turns away, the painting falls down, and when he goes to put it back up, there's something missing. Oh, there it is. Jesus. Meanwhile, Bill, Richie, and Eddie are at Eddie's house. They're about to go into the sewers. Bill's idea, of course.
Hey, Eddie, these are birth control pills? Yeah, and I'm saving it for your sister.
Good one, Eddie. And naturally, they have to lie to Eddie's mom about where they're going.
Just my backyard, Mrs. K.
Oh, and sweetie, don't go rolling around on the grass, especially if it's just been cut. You know how bad your allergies can get.
Yes, Mom.
Aren't you forgetting something?
Oh God, poor Eddie.
Do you want one for me too, Mrs. K?
Okay, that was a good one.
Sorry, Mommy.
All the kids have bikes in this one. There's something kind of 80s about that that's hard to put my finger on. Like, kids have been riding bikes for ages and they still do, but something about riding your bike through the neighborhood with your friends just kind of says 80s to me. Maybe it's partly a Spielberg thing, or maybe it's because that was basically my childhood. Meanwhile, Ben is holed up in the library writing that poem. You know the one.
Your hair is winter fire, January embers. My heart burns there too.
Summer vacation? I would think you'd be ready to take a break from the books.
It's pretty bad when even the stuffy librarian thinks you need to get out more. Anyway, he's reading up on the history of dairy. These kids don't look too happy, do they? Probably because Pennywise is in the background. Or maybe they were able to see the next page. Speaking of Pennywise in the background, look at this librarian staring at the back of Ben's head and smiling. That's not normal. Here's a neat effect where this tree gets closer and closer as he flips the pages. Oh my God, she's still back there. Oh hey, there's a balloon. Don't you want your balloon, Ben? It leads him into another room. I love this kind of mindfuck. It feels very much like reading about something and then later having a nightmare about it. Only in this case, it's actually happening. Looks like he's not alone. He's like, look, I finally found all the eggs. I love the jerky, unnatural movements of this thing. It reminds me a little of stop motion. I really wish they'd bring that back for horror movies. By the way, if you didn't make the connection, it's this kid whose head was found in a tree after the explosion. Oof, so much for that nightmare sequence. Oh, hi, Henry.
Where are you off to, tits?
Yeah, in the book, Ben wore an unflattering t-shirt to school one time. Poor kid wore sweaters for the rest of the summer after that, but that didn't stop Henry from forever calling him tits.
Get off me! Get off me! Help!
Nope, its influence is all up in that car. Oof, and poor Ben does indeed get an H carved into his stomach in this version.
It means half-wit, hopeless, hideous failure.
I'm gonna carve my whole name onto this cottage cheese!
Nice move there. Henry loses his knife and freaks out. That's gonna come up again later.
You two get him! Come on!
But Ben runs into the Barons away from the rest of them.
That's poison ivy, and that's poison ivy, and that's poison ivy.
Not every fucking plant is poison ivy, Stanley.
Meanwhile, the other boys are going into the sewer.
Aren't you guys coming in?
It's gray water.
What the hell's gray water?
It's basically piss and shit, so I'm just telling you.
He's actually misusing that word. Apparently gray water is wastewater from buildings, but it comes from everywhere but the toilet and can be recycled. What he's talking about is black water.
Have you ever heard of a staph infection? This is literally like swimming inside of a toilet bowl right now.
But yeah, Eddie is definitely a germaphobe in this version. That wasn't quite as pronounced in the miniseries. There it seemed like it was mostly his mom. Anyway, Bill ends up finding a shoe that belonged to Betty Ripson.
I don't like this.
How do you think Betty feels? Running around these tunnels with only one freaking shoe?
Boy, Richie is just as inappropriate as ever.
My mom will have an aneurysm, okay? If she finds out that we're playing down here, I'm serious.
Eddie talks a mile a minute in this one. I think it's anxiety that causes that.
If I was Betty Ripson, I would want us to find me.
Bill wants to go in further, but...
What if I don't want to find them? No offense, Bill, but I don't want to end up like... I don't want to go missing either.
Eddie does have a point.
It's summer. We're supposed to be having fun.
Yeah, Bill, it's summer.
This is scary and disgusting.
Anyway, there's Ben.
Holy shit, what happened to you?
Meanwhile, Patrick has wandered off on his own, which is never a good thing to do in a horror movie. He goes into another pipe thinking he hears Ben in there. Yeah, that's not Ben. Oh, you are so screwed. And so go my hopes that Patrick Hockstetter would have a bigger part in this movie like in the book. I mean, he gets a little more screen time here, and at least we can tell which bully he is. The only way I even know that he was in the miniseries is that he's mentioned in the credits. His name is never said by anyone. Could be that maybe he had a slightly bigger part originally and it was cut. By process of elimination, I figure he was probably one of these two guys. Meanwhile...
I mean, he's bleeding all over, and you guys know that there's an AIDS epidemic happening right now as we speak, right? Me and my mom's friend in New York City got it just by touching a dirty pole in the subway.
Yeah, this definitely takes place in the 80s.
Richie, wait here. Come on.
Glad I got to meet you before you died.
Richie gets the best lines, as it should be. Meanwhile, Bill, Stan, and Eddie go to get medical supplies for Ben, but they're not going to have enough money to pay for it. Turns out that Beverly is also there.
See you later, Dad.
See you, Greta.
Yeah, there's nothing about being a preteen girl that isn't embarrassing, really.
What's wrong with you?
There's a kid outside. Looked like someone killed him.
We need some supplies, but we don't have enough money.
You look just like Clark Kent.
So Bev distracts the pharmacist.
What do you think?
You look just like Lois Lane.
That's not how... whatever.
Well, here you go.
Meanwhile, the guys sneak out with the stuff. Afterwards, while the other guys are helping Ben, Bill catches an eyeful of Beverly and... aww.
Thanks.
Even Steven.
Anyway, she finds out that it's for Ben.
You sure they got the right stuff to fix you up?
I love this running gag.
Yeah, we were thinking about going to the quarry tomorrow if you want to come.
Good to know. Thanks.
After Bev leaves, we find out about her reputation.
More like, who'd she do? For what I hear, the list is longer than my wang.
That's not saying much.
Good one, Stan the man.
Bill had her back in 3rd grade. They kissed in the school play. The review said you can't fake that sort of passion.
But yeah, she's attractive, confident, and female, so naturally everyone thinks she's banging half the school.
I do believe this chap requires our utmost attention. Get in there, Dr. K. Come on, fix him up. Why don't you shut the fuck up, Einstein, because I know what I'm doing, and I don't want you doing the British guy with me right now.
Richie and Eddie are always funny together. After she gets home, listen to what's on the TV. Sounds like there's a presence.
The sewer is a fun place to play with all of your friends.
Not to mention Bev's dad. So he's still abusive, but in a slightly different way.
Tell me you're still my little girl.
Ew. And she responds by chopping off all that long hair to make herself less attractive to her father. Ugh. Meanwhile...
Oh my god.
Ew, why are you hawking loogies into the water you plan on jumping into? I mean, I'm sure there are worse things in there, but it's different when you know about it. Anyway, they're afraid to jump in, though it's because of the height.
I'll go.
Right on, show 'em how it's done, girl.
What the fuck? Ah, holy shit! We just got shot up by a girl!
Now you guys have to jump in. Oh, this is so cute. Nice hair, Ben.
What's that? Just touch my foot right here. Legion! Oh my!
Wait, wrong Stephen King adaptation.
Right here, right here, right here.
It's a turtle.
There's kind of an Easter egg in this movie involving turtles. I'll go into that later. Gee, I wonder what they're all looking at. I genuinely admire Bev's ability to give 0 fucks. Meanwhile, Richie almost read Ben's poem.
What's with the history project?
This is kind of a random change from the source material. Ben did like to read a lot in the original story and the miniseries, but here we have him being the group historian, where originally that was Mike. That's another thing I'm sticking a pin in for now.
Your hair.
Your hair is beautiful.
I see what you did there, Ben. He knows he's got competition. But yeah, back to what Ben has learned.
Derry's not like any town I've ever been in before. People die or disappear 6 times the national average. And that's just grown-ups. Kids are worse. Way worse. I've got more stuff if you want to see it.
So they get to Ben's house and...
Wow!
Cool, huh?
No, nothing cool.
Wow, poor kid had way too much free time on his hands.
Derry started as a beaver trapping camp.
Still is, am I right, boys?
I love this running gag where no one will return Richie's high five, and Stan is like, nope.
91 people signed the charter that made Derry, but later that winter, they all disappeared without a trace.
That's nearly word for word what Mike said in the miniseries.
Maybe the biggest mystery is how 253 settlers just disappeared without a trace.
Everybody just thought it was a plague or something, but it's like...
that looks familiar.
The only clue was a trail of bloody clothes leading to the well house.
Meanwhile, I love how Ben hears this door creak and he knows what's about to be revealed. Love that bit of mood whiplash. Beverly could so easily make fun of him here, but she doesn't. She's just like, your secret is safe with me, and he looks so relieved. Well, I didn't want to end part 1 here, but it's running long, so I guess this is going to be a 3-parter. If you haven't seen this version of It yet, be sure to watch it before watching part 2 and 3.